Good morning. Welcome. I'm Christine Heath, board member, and I guess it's the Board of Trustees is the official word, but I'm glad to welcome you to our Sunday services this morning at the UU Church of Columbia. We're a congregation striving to embody courageous love, radical welcome, and deep connection, and we're so glad that you are here, bringing all that you are and all that you love and your deepest commitments to a more just world for all. Welcome. We're glad to be offering a live stream of our services, and we would like to extend an additional welcome to those of you joining us online. We strive to make our worship accessible, and those of you at home or using screen readers in person can find an accessible order of service with hymn lyrics included at our homepage, uucomo.org. If you're on Zoom, we have automated captioning turned on, and we will provide spoken descriptions of the images and videos shown on the screen, as well as participants in the service. And in that vein, I'm going to tell you that I am a short, middle-aged woman with a white and black striped shirt on today. For those in the sanctuary, we have listening assistance devices with our ushers near the sanctuary entrance, and please let us know if you have other accessibility needs that we can meet with an email to minister@uucomo.org. For those of you with us in person, we invite you to attend carefully to the safety of all by leaving plenty of space, wearing your masks, and ensuring that you are greeting one another in a way that is comfortable to both parties. We'd like to particularly welcome any visitors among us this morning and invite you to find our guest book after the service in the entry if you did not already, or to chat with us if you're online. We'd love to stay in touch with you about our goings-on. Children and babies are always welcome in worship, and we also have a lively children's religious education program and nursery care for our youngest ones. All nursery caregivers and RE teachers are masked and vaccinated. This morning, we are worshiping together as one community of all ages. The nursery is open for children who need and prefer it, and Sunday school classes will resume next week. If you have a joy or sorrow you'd like spoken aloud during the service, you can write them on a yellow slip to my left to be included in our time of prayer, or if you're online, please include your joys and sorrows in the chat so they can be relayed to our worship leaders for our time of prayer. And now let us take a moment, settle into this morning with the help of our very special guest musician, Steph Plant.
Brown-haired young lady with a blue dress on, a big smile on my face. I'm extremely delighted and blessed to get to be in such a space with such an intentional community of people gathered to unite in a heart-centered way. And I want to sing a song with you if you are led to sing with me. I do have a slide. I don't know if it's available, but the song is not very hard to catch on to. It's a song that actually harmonizes with a yellow crystal singing bowl. My husband is sitting on the ground here beside me in a rainbow-colored shirt, and he is going to be accompanying me on a crystal singing bowl. It resonates and activates the solar plexus. And so this song is really good for breathing into your diaphragm. So before we start, lovely, thank you for displaying the slide. So before we start, if we could take just one moment to take a couple of deep breaths while we listen to the crystal singing bowl together, and then I'll lead you in this song that came from a deep place in my heart.
I'm Sam Otten, one of the worship associates, and I also happen to be a colleague of Jenny Bossler's over at the College of Education and Human Development. I'm very happy to be here this morning. I'm a bald white man, 38 years old, about average height and build, I'd say, and today I'm wearing a blue and white polo shirt. And it is with great humility, but also collective determination, that I present these morning words that Reverend Molly helped me select for our opening. These are written by Elizabeth Mount, a UU minister from Pennsylvania. To begin, to start, to create, to undertake, to grow, to promise, to increase, to generate. All these are our birthright. As we are created, so may we create. The ability and the choice to create is sacred. To withdraw that chance from any person without their permission would be a violent act, the cutting off of life itself. And yet, as precious is the right to simply not, to end, to terminate, to stop, to discontinue, to rest, to hibernate, to impede, to prevent. These too are our birthright. For without consent, our ability to create becomes not a blessing, but a burden and an imposition. Without space for no, there can be no trustworthy yes. Today we come to this holy place and time, ready to invoke the divine, to make space for the sacred, to co-create community once again. This too is a choice. You cannot, you may not be coerced into relationship with the holy or with one another. I invite you. I ask you to join us. I respect it if you will not, today or ever. More sacred than any other individual need is choice. The right to know oneself, the right to know what you are ready for, what you need, to stretch when you can, to pause when you will, to know your body, your mind, your spirit better than anyone else, and ultimately to be trusted with the responsibility of your own living. We now light our chalice, the symbol of our faith in the community that holds us, and the bright flame of the human spirit that unites us. Will you join me in our weekly words of affirmation printed in your order of service or shared in the chat online? Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. And now let us continue to settle into this space together by singing a classic and comforting hymn. It's number 123 in the gray hymnal, Spirit of Life.
Good morning. I'm Jamila Batchelder, our Director of Religious Education. I'm a middle-aged white woman with dark blonde hair, a black blazer, and a royal blue shirt that says, "When injustice becomes law, resistance becomes duty. I am so grateful to be with you this morning because the last few days have been a lot. And I've seen so many plans for what actions we will take in response to the Supreme Court's decision this week. And I'm very proud to be part of a faith of action. It's what UUs are really good at. But one thing we are less good at is taking the time for lament. And for our centering today, I want to make space and time for that. There was one reading that really resonated with me this week, written by Lynn Unger. I want to share it with you now. You are not wrong to be furious. You are not wrong to be scared. You are not wrong to wonder what we do today and tomorrow and tomorrow. You are not wrong to notice the brilliance of the sky. You are not wrong to think of your daughter. You are not wrong to imagine people you will never know. You are not wrong to think, this doesn't really affect me, and to know it really does. You are not wrong to look for pictures of puppies and kittens or flowers and trees. You are not wrong to try to massage the ache out of your heart. You are not wrong to yell or cry or scream or hide under the covers in your bed. You are not wrong to turn to your neighbor and say, what do we do now? And we will do the work of answering that question. But for right now, I just want to take the time in this space together to be aware of all the feelings that have arisen. Anger, fear, betrayal, grief, loss, exhaustion, violation, determination, and feel where they sit in your body and in your heart. And feel the strength of those feelings. It is that very strength that we will call upon to do what must come next. But for now, it's enough to simply feel.
Now, during a moment of contemplative music, I invite you into our weekly ritual of stones and water. For those of you tuning in at home, I'd like to invite you into a moment of quiet contemplation, imagining the burdens of your heart lifted and held by our community as you listen to the music. For those of you with us in the room, you are welcome to come forward and take a stone representing any of your hopes and fears, and drop the stone in the water, which represents the embrace of our community. Those of you who wish to have your joy or sorrow spoken aloud may write it on the yellow slip and place it in the basket, as we also receive joys and sorrows that are submitted in the chat from the live stream team. I now invite you into this time of contemplation. Thank you so much for spending some time with us up here. This is now the moment where you can head out to your religious education activities. And as the children leave the sanctuary, we will sing them out using the melody written by Jamie Meadows with the words printed in your order of service or posted in the chat. And please join me now in a time of collective prayer or contemplation as we hear some of the joys and sorrows of our community. If you wish to share a bodily response, you can wave your hands and fingers for a joy, and you can place an open hand over your heart for a sorrow. Christine Heath has a joy that her daughter finally has a contract to buy a house. We have a collective sorrow for the loss of rights of half our population. We also have an unnamed sorrow for the death of coworker and friend Lydia. And Linda Valentine also shared some sad news via email. Linda wrote to Reverend Molly, "Thursday, we lost our mother, Elsie Holm, after multiple infections and bouts with sepsis. A celebration of her life will be held in Dallas on July 1st. She is so missed." And let us take a moment to think of the other joys and sorrows that we hold quietly to ourselves. And I'll now close our time of contemplation with a prayer for reproductive justice by Susanna Porter and Reverend Emily Ewing. With devastation all around and in our hearts, we come to you, Holy Protector. Be with all who are caught up in despair today for the destruction of their constitutional right of bodily autonomy. Our hearts are particularly with those in Missouri and beyond harmed by this ruling even now. Those experiencing emergency or risky pregnancies who will not be able to terminate a pregnancy in order to save their own life. Those who miscarry and will face criminal investigations in the midst of their pain and loss. Those who are pregnant and feel financially chained to an abusive partner. Those who do not want to be pregnant for any reason and now wonder if it will be possible to end an unwanted pregnancy. Love, be with all who fear what is to come, for the terrifying realities and increased danger for those who become pregnant, for those who recognize this as one step of many in the erosion of rights for all people. Be a courageous and caring presence, especially for people with uteri, for women of all kinds, for trans and non-binary people, for disabled people, for queer people, for Black, Indigenous, people of color, and especially for those with intersecting identities of oppression. We pray for the protection of the most vulnerable. Keep those who seek and who provide abortions safe. Pour your power into holistic reproductive health care for all seeking to become pregnant, to end pregnancies, and everything between and beyond. Protect those who have faced forced sterilization, that their wombs and bodies may be kept safe. Protect those without the funds or access to seek abortion, especially in states where it is already nearly impossible to access reproductive health care. We pray for strength for abortion networks and those who are working to protect rights to reproductive justice. Expand the work that is already being done to ensure access to safe, free abortions. For the fights on the horizon, we pray for your strength and protection. For bodily integrity and autonomy of all kinds, including access to birth control, access to gender-affirming health care, protection for transgender and queer children from from legislated harm, the protection that marriages of many kinds provide. Give us patience and care in the creation of a more expansive movement, that we would each be gentle with each other as we navigate our trauma collisions, to seek first to understand with love. We give you thanks for all those who have been in this fight for decades, and for those who today are filled with ferocity, fury, and fear. For the work and protection that has been done so far, for all who don't know where to begin, and yet are burning with a fire for justice in the wake of this news. Breathe your resting peace into those who have been fighting, that they carve out space to be gentle with themselves in the time to come. Give us wisdom to follow those who are already doing this work. Put your words in our mouths and on our hearts as we speak with state and national officials. Prepare us for the long road ahead. Creative spirit of consent and courage, we entrust all this and all that you know that we may need into your loving presence. We pray all this in your many names. Amen. And as we turn now to our worship theme of how to manage constant surveillance, and to find some peace in the wilderness, our next hymn is number 352 in the gray hymnal, Find a Stillness. You may stand as you are willing or able as we sing together number 352.
I'm Jenny Bossaller. I am a middle-aged woman with brown hair, and I am wearing a blue dress. Our first reading is called The Wisdom of the Wild by Daniel Schatz. And this is an excerpt from The Song and the Sigh by UU minister Daniel Schatz. It's accessible on the UU World website, if you want to go back to that. Following this first reading, Steph Plant is going to share another piece of special music. There is wisdom in wildness. I don't mean misbehavior, but real wildness, elemental wildness, animal wildness. There is wisdom in the wildness of the wolf, whose rhythms are completely attuned to the truth of the earth, who leaves silent paw prints in a world we can only taste but never truly touch. There is wisdom in the wildness of the moose, in whose powerful legs can be found surprising grace. There is wisdom in the songbirds, whose lives border our own, yet whose music will never be tamed. There is wisdom in wildness. We are not wild, whatever pretensions we may have. Human language and society will always be imprinted upon us. We cannot escape them. We can, though, learn from the wildness of others. We can learn balance. In the wild, nature is out of balance, is dying. We can learn stewardship, like the wolf that culls the herd or the raven who tends her nest. We can learn to listen to our senses, smell, taste, sound, touch, sight, and the undefinable instinct that we have almost but never quite forgotten. There is wisdom in wildness, And though we are not wild, there will always remain wildness within us. We touch it when we are at peace with nature, when our senses are heightened, when we become one with our surroundings, whatever they may be. We taste it when we are in love. And when we have given ourselves to the long and difficult work of tuning our minds, our homes, and our communities to the needs of the greater earth, then we will have begun to live the wisdom of the wild.
Got another song I'm going to share with you, and like before, if you feel led to join me, there should be another slide associated. Thank you. The words are simple. It's just I am loving awareness. And my husband's beside me, and he is sounding the indigo crystal singing bowl. And I like to tune into my inner knowing with this tone. And the inner knowing that I feel led to pursue is the one that brings me back to loving awareness in the times of unknown that I believe will help me to be propelled forward from my heart.
Loving awareness.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Reading 2 is an excerpt from The Every by Dave Eggers. It is a novel that's an inspiration for this popcorn theology service. The Every is a conglomerate software company, and the main character, Delaney, worked as a forest ranger for a while. Here, she's playing the long game. She's trying to infiltrate and take down the Every from within. In this excerpt, Delaney has been put in charge of an outing. It's a get-to-know-you event, which is sort of a test that's required of all new hires at this fictional company. Fictional. She thought she would take people to see the elephant seals on the coast. Herein begins the reading. Playa 36 was, like so much of coastal California, wholly unspoiled and baffling in the easy availability of so much almost untouched splendor. The bus parked in the sand-swept lot next to the Redwood Visitor Center, and there, no more than 40 feet away, were 100 elephant seals, females, males, and calves, all lying on the beach, scooching and basking and honking audaciously. The sky was azure and dotted with throw pillow clouds. There were gray-green hills behind the cliffs, left and right, and before them was a beach full of enormous, fleshy mammals, all of them impossibly ugly and vulnerable and loud. So the group gets off the bus reluctantly, and one asks, backing away, "There's no, barrier? Are they dangerous?" Another, looking at her phone, added, "This says they can cover 30 feet in 10 seconds." There was a swirl of talk about the fact that outside of a few orange cones, there was indeed no barrier between the humans and the elephant seals, most of whom weighed in the thousands. One said, there should be clearer boundaries. Upon learning that many of the pups would not survive, the field trip went down the tubes. Most of her colleagues remained on the bus. Those who remained outside took a few pictures of the seals, took pictures of themselves in front of the seals, and took a number of group pictures of themselves in many different poses and configurations and filters. This lasted about 8 to 10 minutes. After that, they were at a loss. No one wanted to know more about the seals, so they returned to the bus where they could share their feelings via their phones, which were universally confused. The consensus was indignation at the ranger for telling them things that they were unprepared to hear, and then at Delaney for exposing them to the ranger, and also to the sand and the sun and the wind and for large free creatures for which they had also been unprepared. Okay, so this is the reflection part. I have a very complicated relationship with technology, and I suspect that many of you do as well. Zoom has enabled us to remain in communication on some level with each other and other people for the past 2.5 years. Online meetings do save time. They save a lot of fuel, and they allow us to remain in our pajamas during meetings, including church. They're also sort of a one-way communication tool when interactive features in the camera aren't in use, and they give us a lot of space to multitask, which research shows does not really work well for making deep connections. I teach in a tech-heavy department at MU, so a positive relationship with technology is sort of accepted and expected. Last semester, I taught a class called the Affirmation Society, and this class takes a pretty critical view of technology in our society. One of the students' main assignments was to read a popular novel or watch a movie about the Affirmation Society and to write a response to it. So I read a book alongside the students. I chose to read Dave Eggers' follow-up to his bestseller, The Circle. The new one is called The Every. And The Circle was also made into a movie in 2017, and it starred Emma Watson and Tom Hanks, and I personally liked it. It had mixed reviews, but that's where pop culture comes in here. So I'm going to talk about a popular-ish book series that offers a sharp critique of our habits of consumption and the arbiters of popular culture and technology. So the premise of both of the books, The Circle and The Every, is pretty simple. Supposedly, Amazon, Google, and Facebook they're sort of a thinly veiled conglomeration that Eggers has named The Every. and we collectively are giving them our ability to take over almost every part of our lives. And that we must participate in the resistance if we don't want to see that dystopian future come to fruition. Eggers creates a world where safety is found in social approval, conformity, and likes on a constantly evolving set of ever more invasive apps that track our moves, because sharing is caring. As Google's former CEO Eric Schmidt said in real life, if you have something that you don't want anyone to know about, maybe you shouldn't be doing it in the first place. That is not actually a new sentiment. Evidently, Henry James wrote in 1888, if these people had done bad things, they ought to be ashamed of themselves, and he couldn't pity them. And if they hadn't done them, there was no need of making such a rumpus about other people knowing. So the problem with it now is that many of our technologies that we use track so much of our lives, right? The world that we're living in and the near future that Eggers describes is probably not what Henry James was writing about. If you are a member of the dominant social group who is favored by the government, you might not see problems with this surveillance. So in fact, some of my students will ask, what's the big deal with surveillance? It might not be a big deal for them right now. But what if one of their future children's gay? This could prove dire in the face of the new turn in this country as well. Technology could be used to help women find options for devastating pregnancies, just as it could be used to surveil them for seeking those options. To many of us, an increasingly surveilled future looks grim. Surveillance has been the subject of countless young adult books and movies, from 1984 to Hunger Games. They say resist. But how do we feel about white supremacists congregating online to overthrow the government and commit mass murder? Do we want surveillance over those communities? Do we want the government to disrupt their plans before they are committed? How about monitoring online traffic to stop identity theft? Monitoring the dark web to stop human trafficking and to keep fentanyl-laced drugs off the street? I really want those groups surveilled, and I want to see those people put in prison. As the old adage says, there are two sides to every coin. It's confusing. Surveillance technology can make us feel safer or less safe, depending on our position. And that's one of the premises of the book. Another theme in these books is that there's little room to escape. There are few places in the wild, and the wild is to be distrusted. In Eggers' world, most employees live and work on campus. All of their needs are taken care of in the most healthy and ecologically friendly way. They ensure that there's no waste. They don't allow plastic on their campus. They vet products that people are going to buy through their platforms for their ecological impact so that consumers can feel confident that they're buying the right thing. And I have to admit that I was pretty intrigued with that. Like it was poking fun at my own self-righteousness in some ways. Every move on the campus is tracked as well, so every employee has to opt in totally. Every has politicians in their pockets as well. In the end, the company will ultimately attain absolute power, knocking out anyone who gets in the way, literally and figuratively, which you'll understand if you read the book. So, as a lot of sci-fi and speculative fiction can be, it's a little didactic sometimes. And it's important to note that Eggers lives in San Francisco, where a lot of the tech executives don't let their own kids have social media. They don't give them accounts. They don't let them have an iPhone because they understand those consequences. So when there were some interviews with tech people, and they saw themselves in this, so there's some truth to this. So many of us do have complicated relationships with technology. We have to use it if we're in the workforce, if we're in school. We have to use it for classes, for payroll, for banking. Everything's online. And resistance is either really inconvenient or we just have to opt out of participating at all. We know about technology's power and we resist it sometimes, and sometimes we give in. Egger's purpose is to bring attention to resistance and to remind us yet again of the dangers of giving so much power to these companies. In the Every, the main character, Delaney, does her best to resist. When she was a college student, she wrote her thesis on the antitrust actions of the Circle, which was the predecessor of the Every, or what we can imagine is before Google and Amazon required Meta, or I'm not sure what the order of acquisition was. But shortly after college, Delaney went underground, and she began her lifelong quest to destroy the Every from within. She managed to get hired on at the Every, and this was much to as her own surprise, I think, as to the surprise of her college thesis advisor, who was named Dr. Agarwal, who was sort of her advisor in resistance. So Agarwal writes letters to Delaney, and those are peppered throughout the book, actual physical letters. She has to leave the Every complex and go to a dingy post office outside of the Everywhere campus, which is referred to employees as nowhere. So Agarwal chides Delaney in all the letters about her incomprehensible life choices, but of course Delaney can't let her in on her ultimate goal. She figures it out. But in one letter, Agarwal writes to Delaney about a recent meeting that she had had with a North Korean defector, because North Korea is really our most familiar form of repressive and information control state that, right now. She writes, so how does this impact your work at the Every? The Every continues to control that flow of information for most people. Most people live most of their lives online. They live their online lives through the Every. The average user doesn't ever need to leave the platform. Think of the power this situation gives them. Yes, we are still in a free society where anyone can write anything they wish, but how do people see these writings? If you spend most of your online life in Every platforms, you might see only what they promote. You might be presented with a wide array of content, all of it approved by the Every, and in line with whatever ideology or business interests they have. How many people live in a state of aggressive truth-seeking? The answer is few. The world is undergoing a movement toward authoritarianism, Delaney, and this is about order. People think the world is out of control. They want someone to stop the changes. This aligns perfectly with what the Every is doing, feeding the urge to control, to reduce nuance, to categorize, and to assign numbers to anything inherently complex, to simplify, to tell us how it will be. An authoritarian promises those things too. So software developed at the Every has found that readers will read only about 177 pages in a book. I think that was the number. I should have checked that. So all of the great novels were reduced in size, and all possible offensive or upsetting words, events, and situations were removed from those books. Relationships were quantified by other apps. The list goes on and on. They're practical apps meant to make our lives easier, to remove problems, and to reduce the chance that we will see something that offends us or causes us mental anguish. And in fact, maybe sometimes we do want those things, right? But they come with an immense price tag. So, what does resistance look like? The opposite of the uncontrolled environment that Eggers describes in Everywhere is found in the wild, in trees, mountains, in pencils, in paper. I found an interview with him where he explained, increasingly, there's less choice about when you use technology and when you don't. Every year, it becomes a little bit harder to do fundamental things without screens, without phones, and without Wi-Fi. I think that's really unfortunate. I think it's exclusionary, and it deprives us of a diversity of human experience on any given day. It deprives us of the ability to stop, to slow down, to disconnect, to contemplate, to meditate, all of these things. He continues, I think that there is a mentality that has sort of overtaken humanity, that everything in life is being examined for how we might digitize it, whether it's a ceiling fan, a piece of chalk, a house plant, or, hey, a classroom. Everything is being explored for how it can become mediated through digital tools. Just in the last 5 years, the rate of acceleration of the digitalization of the classroom has been very alarming to me. And I think it's going to come at a great expense when you see students growing up who are being permitted very little time away from digital devices. The nature of the relationship is so weird, this need to control and surveil how you use their software in this unending relationship that you have with them. It's like being with some controlling, obsessive boyfriend or girlfriend. And in the same way, it can evolve gradually, insidiously. He said, I'm always interested in these small steps that we barely notice that take us from healthy relationships with technology to ever more control and surveillance. End long quote. That surveillance causes us to filter ourselves, and at the same time, the media that we consume is filtered. The results that we get when we search for information in most search engines to the images that we see on social media, so much of it's been curated. People are often touched up in a way that we don't know, or maybe with silly Snapchat filters, right? So it's not all bad. Snapchat filters can be fun, and being online can be fun. It's useful for a lot of the time, and it's certainly necessary for us some of the time. Many people have maintained connections and strengthened friendships, created communities online, and sometimes people participate in these online communities that I don't understand. They live in avatars that are purely fictional, and they're free to be whatever they want to be. And it's creative, and it's wild, and I don't understand it. But we also need to exist in the real and the wild, the real wild. And in our unfiltered selves, at least sometimes, even if that means that we're uncomfortable. In the fictional world in the every, people live on their apps and their phones, seeking answers to everyday quandaries about how to live their lives. The every protects its users, and people who choose to live outside of its scope are suspect at best or criminalized. Take biometrics. They're used today in order to identify people for many different reasons. So we might be able to get an eye scan to get through airport security quicker, or to enter top secret government areas. So in the every, eye tracking and iris scans are used for a variety of reasons, which were legitimate when they were instituted. They were for security. So taking reality a step further, Eggers combines the iris scan with an app developed at the every, which lets the entire world see where someone's eyes were wandering, should they care to find out. The results were mixed. So obviously, if you didn't participate in it, you were pretty much suspected of transgression. Eggers writes about when the app was introduced. Over the next few weeks, it became clear that because half of humanity's iris scans had already been stored, their owners could be singled out within seconds. If a man ogled a woman at a New Jersey dog park, those eyes could instantly be paired with the offender's name, and his family, employers, and the public would be duly notified of the transgression. A new wave of suicides ensued, the embarrassment and discredit being too much for certain caught and called out persons, mostly men, whatever their name for the offenders. Eye shame was the term that stuck to the crime. It was not strictly speaking a crime, of course. No laws prevented anyone from looking where they shouldn't, but shame ensued, and shame was deserved, and shame was the internet's currency and lever for change. It was another reason to stay inside as well. A few billion people who did not trust their own wayward eyes huddled in their homes. People were accustomed to being inside anyway. The pandemics had given the human race much practice in isolation and fear. More people chose to work from home, using cartoon avatars for their teleconferencing, and many refused to speak with real-time audio for fear of a misplaced word being recorded and tipping their shame aggregate. As you can see, there are so many bits of this that have already happened. Living in isolation and fear, staying inside, not interacting with people outside of our computers. He's taking the current state of the world and taking it a step further in a way that's not implausible, but which carries horrifying consequences. So, there are small steps that take us from these healthy and to unhealthy relationships with technology. We might forget what's real, what's actually important. Humans need to set aside time to be in the wild and unplug from technology completely, to witness human beings who are before us in the flesh. We have these real, amazing, painful, and inconvenient bodies that we must attend to. We have a real planet that exists. We can't fix it in Farmville or Second Life, though we can collaborate with others to propose and test solutions using various platforms. Also, we need to remind each other that social influencers aren't really friends. You, the person who likes their posts, are really a means or a product, unless you have a real-life reciprocal relationship. Likes, retweets, and other ways to magnify a message on social media are just a currency. So that's why church families and other action-oriented groups are important. We are in the process of establishing and making steps to solve real-life problems. It's not to be famous or to put on filters. If pop culture is what we see online, church can be a sort of anti-pop culture. It's a constant, and it doesn't ask you to create or follow new trends, but to participate and pitch in, unfiltered, and it doesn't matter what you wear or whether your photos are Instagrammable. So in summary, pop culture can be fun, and it's useful to examine it, to learn from it, critique it, and it can be fun to participate in it as well. It's popular for a reason. It's fun to follow fashion and popular books. It helps us remain sort of grounded in our culture. But pop culture, by definition, is meant to be intentionally obsolete and expendable. So our zeal to remain relevant means we have to move on to the next thing and consume. So the resistance can be found by taking social action with others, with our real bodies in the unfiltered wild. The end.
You may rise if you wish to join in our response hymn, which is 318, We Would Be One, 318. And now is the time in our service when we join in the spiritual practice of generosity, remembering that we are all connected in the rich and colorful web of life. Please give as generously as you are able. Our ushers will come around the sanctuary to receive your donations, or you can give online at uucomo.org/give, or by texting the number 573-405-1202. We thank you for your generosity, and we thank Steph and Micah and Violet for providing wonderful music for us this morning.
May the truth of my love feed you. May the truth of my love feed me too. May my love be true, true, true. May the truth of my love shine through. My husband is playing the blue crystal singing bowl, which is supposed to help you open your throat. This is a good song if you feel led to sing with me, and to let your mind and heart follow what is coming up for you internally when you're singing the words. For those of you who are blessed by my music, I would like to invite you to connect with me online. I'm not great with technology, but I'm trying to connect with people around the world. And if you want to register to be part of my Song Circle event on July 1st, there's a QR code that you can pull up outside, or if you're listening at home, you can look me up online, Steph Plant, STEPHPLANT. Send me a direct message on Instagram or Facebook, and I will connect you to singing with me online if you're interested in that. I'm sorry, I'm singing wrong chords. That's better. This is new for me.
The closing words are an excerpt of an interview with University of Washington psychology professor Peter Kahn, who studies the relationship humans have with nature and the intersection of two modern phenomena, the destruction of nature and the growth of technology. He says, "Nature is necessary for our physical and psychological well-being. Interacting with nature teaches us to live in relationship with the other, not in domination over one another. You don't control the birds flying overhead, or the moon rising, or the bear walking where it would like to walk. One of the overarching problems of the world today is that we see ourselves living in domination over rather than in relation with other people and the natural world. We are a technological species, but for hundreds of thousands of years, our technologies were rudimentary. When our minds evolved from Paleolithic to Neolithic to now, our technologies did too. We're drawn to technologies not only because they are foisted upon us by corporations, but also because the impetus for them lies within the architecture of our very being. Even though we're a technological species, we are now out of balance. To thrive, we need more nature and more wild forms of interaction with more wild nature. I doubt we need tons of new technology. So go out into the world. Go in blessing and be a blessing to a world that needs your care."
Before we leave, I just want to extend my gratitude again to Micah and Steph for playing for us today and last night. It was really beautiful, and also wanted to invite you all, for anybody who's interested in hearing Steph's children's music, she's playing at the Compass Music Center at 3 p.m. today. It's music ideal for ages 2 to 7, but adults are welcome as well if you want to come check it out. All right, let us sing our benediction.